I think I have the power of many, which is to control myself and not hate watch rings of power plus privilege. And every day that I go on Twitter, because I'm not from Brazil and I can still do that, I get to see clips from the film which justifies my decision. Now I get to see that the orcs are actually like you and me. There's no difference between humans and orcs because, look, orcs also, now they're actually made more humanoid so that they're more relatable, but they also have families. Look, they got wives and kids, man. They got wives and kids. That Gondor city is filled with bigoted people. Like when the orcs came, why did they open the doors and let the orcs in? Because all the orcs wanted to do is to find a better life for themselves, to find better future. So like Gondor was filled of bigotry and xenophobia. This orcophobia that Gondor is known for. If only they could benefit from the wisdom of the Democrats. If you had the Democrats to be elected in Gondor, this whole conflict could have been averted. All jokes aside, though, why are people pissed? Well, people are pissed because they are sick and tired of these remakes. They are sick and tired of the constant display of American entertainment corporations that have hundreds of millions of dollars, but are completely incapable of hiring a single person that has creativity. That they are capable of providing that rich, vibrant American diversity, but they cannot provide the ability of creating new universes, the ability of creating new stories. So they have to rip off someone else. There's a reason why we despise plagiarism. There is a reason why teachers do not allow you to copy someone else's homework. It's because they're trying to show that you are a creative person. Like, as a human being, you should be able to make something new. But no, these people cannot. They cannot create something new. So they constantly rip off works that existed in the past. But the also problem is that they do not have media literacy. They talk about media literacy all the time, but time and time again it's displayed that they do not understand the concept. So the orcs are not supposed to be relatable. They're not supposed to be this, well, actually they're the good guys. And I don't fucking care if you can find like one paragraph here or there in order to somehow like justify this transition. The overwhelming theme is that the orcs are evil. You cannot talk to them, you cannot negotiate with them. They are a force that requires the good guys to stop them. And it's also imperative for the story to make sense because you have the elves and you have the dwarves, which hate each other, but now they need to put aside their differences because the orcs are coming. Like, everyone needs to unite. Everyone needs to put aside their grievances. Everyone needs to put aside the things that they dislike about each other because the orcs are fucking coming. Sauron is not a good guy. The orcs are not a good guy. This is not one of those complex stories. Like, there's nothing wrong with stories like Game of Thrones where, there's no good guys and there's shades of gray and actually you can relate with this person if you see their point of view. No, like, this is a story about good and evil. These stories have to exist. I noticed, like, the concern of left-leaning people to, like, make, no, there is no story about good and evil. Actually, the good guys, you never know, about the Jedi. The Jedi are actually evil and the Sith, they're actually good. So there's shades of gray everywhere. There's nothing wrong with those stories, but sometimes you just need the story about good and evil. Now, the reason they do it is also important. Why do they want to make the orcs sympathetic? It's because when you notice how modern writing is done in America, it's not about art anymore. It's not about the person that just sits at home and they have a great idea and they write a book and then that book is made into a script. No, that's the past, right? The way they're doing it now is they hire consultants. And these consultants somehow work for different companies. It's why you see the same themes everywhere. And these consultants usually read academic papers that have nothing to do with the public or the free market. And those academic papers are telling them stuff like races in fantasy is bad. Do not have fantasy races. And this is why when you look at Picard, Star Trek, or when you look at Dungeons and Dragons, or when you look at Lord of the Rings, you notice the same theme. And the theme is that, well, actually the other races are still humanoids with just slight variations, right? You do not have like the differences in races like you used to, where the orcs are completely evil, the elves are different. No. Everyone is like a humanoid, basically, from California, yeah? Because that's how you end racismus. They genuinely believe this. They believe that if they make in fiction, if they make like the most boring films imaginable, if they make the most boring video games imaginable, they somehow end racismus in America. Because you see, like, the whole problem is that people play these games or watch these movies and they see orcs bad, and therefore they believe that in the real world the concept is the same. Right? So by changing fiction, by changing these movies and making sure that the orcs are humanized as well, again, to the point where they don't even look that different, it's just like they have like a little bit of a gray skin now, then they end racismus in America. So what this does is that it destroys art, because it's another story that I've seen, right? Like, it removes the concept of fantasy. These are not races in the traditional sense. They're not like black people, or they're not like Asians, right? They're a completely different species in the fantasy universe. Like, the orcs and the humans are completely different. It's not like, oh, we're human, but no. Like, they're a different like, they're like an alien species, if you will, right? And it's important for this to exist, because, like, this is how you create fantasy, first and foremost. Like, that's why it's fantasy. Because you live in a world where there's other things besides humans. And number two, as I mentioned before, it causes the drama that is required for the story to continue. And sometimes the story needs a villain. Like, if you play Dungeons and Dragons and you have a character that's the barbarian, and the barbarian doesn't have high charisma, he's not good in conversations, he doesn't have high intelligence, he's not good in investigation, but what the barbarian does is he likes to swing sword, right? So when he swings sword, that's what makes the player who plays a barbarian happy. He wants to throw the dice, right? And maybe he's a good-natured character, so he doesn't want to start shit, but if shit gets started, he wants to participate. So you need the goblin, you need the orc, you need the thing that's not intelligent, you can't talk and reason with it, you just swing sword. Like, they are required, that these types of creatures play an important role in the fantasy universe that the woke don't give a shit about, because they don't care about the universe and the enjoyment of the people at the table. What they do care about is the message. And as long as the message gets pushed, then they're happy. The problem is no one wants to hear the message anymore, because we heard it since 2014. Like, we understand your point of view, we already got it. You know, how many more movies do you need to make until you're satisfied? How many more video games do you need to inject the message in before you're satisfied? We get it. We understand it. We know. But they still push it, right? So this is why people are so upset about this theme. It's because it goes against the spirit of the story. And it goes against the spirit of the story because they do not care about the story. All they care about is the message. And there's also another message here. You know, the idea that your culture is good and is superior is something that most people believe. Chinese people believe that their culture is good and superior. There are people in Eastern Europe that believe this, right? And it's normal, because we do live in a globalized world. And if people genuinely believed that their culture isn't good, then they would just get out of a plane and leave. So what's happening here is the idea that, well, actually, no, you know, your culture is evil. Your culture is colonial, oppressive. That's the message that they're sending. While the other culture that's being oppressed in this situation, the orcs, they're just like you, they're good people too. It's just like they're misunderstood and you just don't want to talk to them, you bigot. That is another theme that this is trying to push, right? Like the social justice theme that actually, well, the orcs are really nice people. The interesting part is that they could actually do this in the world of Lord of the Rings. Like, they could pull it off because there are other humans out there that work with Sauron willingly. So in the Lord of the Rings, that there are like those humans that come on Oliphants, right? They have the ability to choose. Like, they're not like the orcs. They're actually humans, and you could reason with them, and you could show that they're having problems, and, you know, they're allying with Sauron for various reasons, and you could create an interesting story based around that shit, and you can push your message. But again, these people do not have the media literacy, and they do not care enough in order to do these things. Which is why, like, they're doing, oh yeah, well, the orcs are actually just like you and me, and look, they're no different, you know. This could be your dad, basically. This could be your dad. Why are you rooting against them? Let me know what you guys think, though, and as usual, I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.